This is the Raid Chaos with the Sanctuary Keeper, featuring the Yuffie strat. This will be a commentary on the improved version of this strategy. The improvement was inspired by one of the Japanese players who uploads stuff. His channel is cat profile pick one. I will link the video in question down in the not in the comments, in the description down below. So basically, the improvement is that instead of focusing on the Sanctuary Keeper, the boss, I will first focus on Jecht Manikin first, and after killing that, I will start working on the Sanctuary Keeper. The reason for it is because in my previous video featuring this strategy, is like I have a really hard time actually killing this thing, because like under half HP, he will just keep healing. But at that time, like I'm already running low on skills, and I cannot really use Snow skill 1 either. So that's that. So instead, like by killing Jecht first, and then pushing the main boss to under 50%, then switching to Leo, I can burst down that 50% really fast and pretty much prevent the boss from healing. So when using Yuffie for this fight, at first you want to spend 3 skills to charge up her EX. Ideally before the boss recasts his first time. So this is the boss recast gauge. Its recastability is the photon wings. Right, so now just instead of focusing on the Sanctuary Keepers, focus on Jecht. Jecht has around like 200k HP. It's kind of a lot, but not that much. Right, so here is the boss's AoE attack. That's not the recastability, it's the magical breath or mana breath, depending on how the translation goes. So now that, because that actually broke the party. So the thing with how their recast works is like, okay, look at here. So when we start, when it starts the ability, it's at like half gauge. After a hit, it goes to like the fourth, and then when it breaks, it gains the rest. So if it doesn't break, then he will have to spend another turn doing stuff. But now because it broke the party, it broke just anyone. It doesn't have to be a party break. It just needs to break a single guy in the party, then they will get the charge. But that doesn't really matter too much here, because after this, I can just break with Hope, and then Yuffie will have her turn with her EX ready. Luckily, the Sanctuary Keeper does not really have that much defense, so right. Yuffie with her EX actually shuts down this boss pretty hard. So her unique debuff, it prevents any sort of bravery gain, it prevents any sort of buff gain, in last 2 turns. So what this do is like, because the Photon Wing is actually not an attack that breaks you, if you look here. It doesn't break. It's a Brave Absorb, but because that he has the Yuffie debuff on, he cannot absorb the Brave. And so, pitiful amount of damage. Ideally, Yuffie's turn should be the first one here if you can get the RNG to work that way or manipulate it to work that way, so the buff can be thrown back, so the debuffs can be thrown back, but it doesn't really matter at this point too much. You're just like sacrificing a few turns of ability recast for the EX, because the stop does that, like it just stops your recast. Which is kind of annoying, and you also get 1 turn blind, which you should probably just like try to push off with something. And that's the other annoying thing with this boss, like the single target attack, it's a guaranteed break, even if you dodge it. And then it usually follows up with either that, the tail swipe, which inflicts a poison and a sap, or it heals itself. I'm not exactly sure of how the algorithm works, like just kill it ASAP after 50%. Before 50% though, it won't heal. So that's fine, that's a debuff thrown back. Hope it's quite unlucky here that debuff wasn't thrown back. So that's basically the setup phase. So from now on, the Sanctuary Keeper would not gain any of the recast gauge, so I have plenty of time to kill Jecht without having to worry about anything on the Sanctuary Keeper. So that being said, let me just accelerate the video to very fast. One downside of using Yuffie, of course, is that her damage output is kind of low, and she doesn't really have the skill used to support it. Another thing about throwing back the debuffs is that if you manage to throw back the blind as well, the attacks from Sanctuary Keeper will easily miss. Though with this team, killing Jecht early kind of suffers a bit in terms of damage output because like both Hope's and Yuffie's EX is full AoE and Snow's has like 80% splash to it. But it's actually worth it to do this because you can get a more efficient delay from Leo. Which means you can just burst down the Sanctuary Keeper after 50% much easier. In this fight in particular, Snow's skill 2 is mainly just a EX recast tool and basically a self-healing tool because the Sanctuary Keeper absorbs both Ice, Fire, and I believe Holy as well. Yeah. So using skill 2 on the boss will actually give him a lot of Brave, which you don't want. But you can actually use that to your advantage sometimes. I don't think I actually showed it in this run because it wasn't necessary with Yuffie anyways. So one thing you can do is use skill 2 on the boss. Alright, so that actually some time has passed and the stop debuff fell off. Right, I think I should mention something earlier, right? Okay, I think let's start here. And let's turn the speed back to 1. Okay, so here we can see the stop debuff has fallen off, and it's using target all, which is the mana breath. So if it doesn't break, then the boss will get 1 extra turn. But here is the debuff from Yuffie. I actually wanted to break the party. I actually want Yuffie to get broken, so he can charge his gauge the full way through. Right. That's the full gauge chart. So that means on this turn, it's still gonna have the debuff, which means this thing won't be doing much damage. It's just gonna be 19 spread throughout. And then here, I chose not to break the Sanctuary Keeper because Yuffie's turn is right here. She can throw the debuffs back immediately. So yeah, you should be able to see that in a second after I've done some thinking on that. So just checking the debuff durations. 3k HP damage overall is easily manageable. It's actually 2.4k because the HP damage reduction from Snow. And then all the debuffs are thrown back, except for Hope, because he actually doesn't have enough buffs to push things off. Yeah, so you get the gist of it. Speed things up again. Soon it will be... That was really unfortunate. But it's either that or use a skill, and I chose to use HP Plus instead. So Jecht alternates between his Beast Rush and his Jecht Stash. If he has High Brave, he will use the Plus versions. So it can like instant kill you if you're not careful, but with the tank is not too much of trouble. So soon I think either this one or the next skill will kill Jecht. Yeah, the next one then. Alright, so Jecht is dead. I'm not going to switch in Leo immediately yet. I'm going to first bring it down to 50%. That's when it was first start healing. And I need to watch skill use on Yuffie. But okay, so that's 50%. And I'm waiting for the next turn because I want the this debuff, the Yuffie CX debuff, to actually fall off first. So the reason why I want that debuff to fall off is that that thing prevents all form of Brave Gain. That includes the Brave Gain that it gets when it absorbs the ice attack from Snow. Well, usually you actually want to have it on, right? Because that means you can use Snow Skill 2 without giving this boss like a 30k battery, like here. But with a Leo friend whose skill 2 hits really hard and delays, it basically works in the same vein as using Vayne in a sense, because like you're basically manually producing an unbreak situation by batterying the enemy. And here it's just kill. Ideally, I should probably have used Snow's additional ability here just to add some more damage to Leo, but doesn't really matter. Okay, so I give him more Brave. Further delay with a break. Of course, I'm going to use EX when it's ready. And here this is really lucky. I got to trigger the chase with Leo's skill 2, which is a lot of damage. So actually, let's see, why did I use... Okay, the reason why I used skill 1 here instead of skill 2 is because it's already not broken anyways. So it's pointless to give a battery and let Leo break because it's not going to produce another turn. It's going to just waste damage because Leo's not doing crit. Same deal here because Leo is going to be gone the next turn. There's no point in batterying up. Though there could be a point. Like, I can technically swap into Yuffie and use her additional ability, which copies current enemy Brave. I don't think I use it in this run because I'm prioritizing damage more. Then it's basically just kill the boss at this point. And hope that it doesn't get a turn, it doesn't get a heal off. Because it heals for 350k, that's a lot. Okay, so after using that break attack, it will either follow up with the tail swipe or it will follow up with the cure. Luckily, if you follow up with the tail swipe this time, and yeah, that's the break copy on, so everyone got the same amount here, so it's a battery of that amount. Using skill 1 instead of skill 2 just for more damage. It's basically a race to see if I can finish killing the boss, because this turn is very likely to be a single target attack into a heal. So if that happens, like it's gonna be another like 10 turns at least. But managed to pull through and kill the boss. So it's 78 turns compared to the other run I did, which I think is like over 80 turns at the very least, and they got like several heals off. Like this one did not get a single heal off, and even though some damage efficiency was probably lost by killing Jecht first, it turns out to be better because you don't have to deal with the healing, or you minimize the chances of dealing with the self-heal from the boss, basically. Of course, like using Yuffie is not the best strategy to use. Like if you have a debuff evasion, you just debuff evasion. But using Yuffie Means like you don't have to deal with that debuff for quite a while. So on that run, I think the Sanctuary Keeper only used Photon Wing like 3 times at best. So you don't really have to deal with that much HP damage from the boss, and you don't have to deal with the stop debuff too much because it stops because when the buff is thrown when the debuff is thrown back at it, it stops their recastability as well. So yeah, this is one of the ways that you can try to approach this fight. If you have Yuffie maxed, that was gonna take a few tries. Like it took me like a few hours to just iron things out, and then I saw the video and I was like, holy shit, you can actually kill Jecht first and then focus on the Sanctuary Keeper to minimize the healing. So that was a epiphany for me too. Well, good thing that it gave me a chance to record a new one, and so I don't have to do a narration over the old video, which is something that's just uncreative at all. Yeah, so that's gonna be it for this one. Not sure what I'm gonna do next. If any of you are interested, I'm not actually gonna pull on Freya and Prompto. I might EX plus one of my Promptos, but yeah, that's gonna be it for this one.